We already did simple characters, a dog on a motorcycle, and a driving car. Time for something more. You don't need any fancy plugins, just Photoshop, After Effects, and a bit of creativity. Alright, let's jump in. Let's start by breaking down this PSD file. The idea here was to design a simple scene with a cat sleeping on the sofa. The first layer is the paper texture. I set its blending mode to multiply and lowered the fill value to 75%. The next layer is the leaves. Let's double-click on the smart object to open it. If we double-click again, you will see it's just a PNG I found online. I added a Gaussian blur and an exposure adjustment to give it some more depth. Moving on, we have the window group. I separated the windows and the handles into individual layers so I could control them later in After Effects. If we open the wall layer, you will notice I added an exposure adjustment and a mask. The mask simply creates a transparent area where the window sits. The wall texture itself is another free one I found through a quick Google search. Next up is the cat. I separated into layers: tail, legs, ears, and the body, so it can be animated in After Effects. These parts are enough to bring the cat to life. The rest of the scene is built from layers like the bookshelf, plants, TV group, sofa, and the posters on the wall. Most of these I sourced from Google and Pinterest. Now that we've gone through the PSD, let's jump into After Effects and see what kind of animation we can create with these layers. Now let's bring this PSD into After Effects as a composition. When importing, make sure to choose Retain Layer Sizes, so none of the elements get cropped to the canvas. Once inside, double-click to open the composition. The first thing we will do is turn every layer into 3D layers. Don't forget to also open up any pre-compositions and enable 3D there as well. Let's start with the window pre-comp. First, we need to fix the anchor points. For now, deselect the 3D options on these layers to make the adjustments easier. Select the handle layers first. Move their anchor points all the way up to the top, since that's where the rotation will happen. Now add 3 rotation keyframes. The first one is the initial position. The second is rotated 90 degrees. Third one is for the right handle. Set it to -90 degrees instead. Apply easy ease to smooth out the motion. And just like that, our first animation is done. Next, let's move on to the window itself. Here, the anchor point should be placed on the side where the hinge would be, either left or right, depending on the window. Now, turn 3D back on for the layers and animate the Y rotation to make the windows open. Before animating, make sure to parent the handles to their respective windows so they move together. Next, let's add some sudden movement to bring the scene to life. We will start with the leaves. Apply a wiggle expression to their position so they move randomly, like the wind is blowing through them. Then, adjust their position in 3D space and bring them forward in the scene. Remember, closer objects in 3D space are part of the foreground. We will do the same thing for the wall layer inside the pre-composed window group. Move it slightly forward as well, since the wall comes right after the leaves in our depth order. Now let's set up the camera movement. Add a camera layer and a null object. Make the null 3D and parent the camera to the null. With that set up, we can animate the camera more easily. Add 2 position keyframes to the null. The first keyframe is the initial position, and the second is the zoom in effect by pushing the position forward. Notice please that the cat doesn't move during this because it wasn't converted to 3D, so make sure all layers are 3D enabled. As you zoom in, you might see some layers disappearing. That happens because in the 3D environment, objects can overlap or step on each other if their positions are not set correctly. Just adjust the positions of those layers so they sit properly in the scene, and that should fix it. Finally, let's add some looping animation. For example, select the lamp layer, add rotation keyframes, and apply the loop out expression so the movement repeats forever. Now let's animate the main character, cat. First, deselect the 3D option on the cat layer so we can work more easily. Let's start with the tail. Add some puppet pins here. Once you place the pins, you will see keyframes automatically created in the timeline. Adjust them. Then add a loop out expression so the motion repeats. Stretch out the keyframes on the timeline to make the movement slower and more natural. Next, let's work on the leg. Adjust the anchor points and create a few rotation keyframes, almost like the cat is dreaming, maybe hunting or running. For these, we want sudden twitches, not smooth motion. So use toggle hold keyframes instead of easing. You can also hold Alt and drag the keyframes to fine-tune the timing. For the other leg, let's use puppet pins again. Add a few pins but animate only one pin to move the paw, while the others keep the leg stable. Now for the ears. Same idea as the first leg. Use quick, sudden movement with the toggle hold keyframes to give it that little twitch, that little spice. And finally, let's add a subtle breathing effect to the body. Add few puppet pins but animate only one pin at the top. The rest are there just to keep the body stable on the sofa. Apply a loop out expression so the breathing continues seamlessly. Once everything is animated, turn the 3D option back on for the cat layers. And for the finishing touch, add an adjustment layer with the Lumetri color effect so you can play around with the overall color grading. And that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed breaking down the scene and animating the cat with me. If you found it helpful, make sure to like, subscribe and share so you don't miss any future tutorials. If you would like to follow along, I've linked the project file in the description. If you're a member, it's free to download. And if you're just passing by, you can still grab it for a little coffee money. It's a small way to support me and it helps me creating more tutorials just like that one. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.